Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. And it's Wise Women's Wednesday. I am so glad you're here. Jocelyn, nice to have you here. And of course, the Dream Team. Say hello to Amber, to Jenny, and to Lindsay. We're all here. We're doing our thing. And I'm glad you're here doing yours. Hey, Chris, I'm glad you're here. Anyway, we have, a ton going on. We're kind of teeing up September. We started teeing up a little bit early. And guess what? Tomorrow is September 1st. Can you believe that? Hey there, Nancy. Cheers. Here's to you. What's that all about? Does anybody know where the summer went? Anyone? How did it go so fast? I mean, this weekend coming up is Labor Day. I don't know. Now, we don't have a Labor Day sale going on, but I'm going to tell you what, we do have a sale going on right now, and you'd be wise to go check it out. Hey, Kathy, Alice, Sue, Trisha. It's at savingdinner.com/sale. Now, what you're going to find is a lot of supplements that we are discontinuing. They're not big sellers of ours, and I realize there's the good comparable product that you can get on Amazon. I can even help guide you on that, and we'll probably have on the Leanne Recommends page, we'll probably have other vitamin Ds to go buy and all of that. So I'm just saying to you right now that, hey, Rebecca, she says September 1st is her 15th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary. Catherine's here too. Lovely to have you here. But here's the other thing, and I think this is important. There's a big hair on me for some reason. When I can find something that is something that we don't need to produce, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you where to go and get something quality. If we can produce something, and we're more about having a proprietary blend of a lot of different things doing the same job, that's so much better than taking like 5 different supplements, isn't it? That's one of the things that we're about. So anyway, just letting you know, you will be finding out, and we have a new product coming out very soon, probably mid-month, next month, that we're very excited about. And I will just give you one hint. It's about controlling your blood sugar. There's like 15 different ingredients in it, and it has some remarkable research that goes along with it. So isn't that exciting? I can't wait to share it with you. I'll tell you all about it as we get a little further down the road. Hello, Brenda. It's good to have you here. And Jeanette. Catherine says, sounds great. Can't wait. I'm glad. We have a few other things too that we're working on. But I'm telling you, one of my biggest ahas, I would say for 2022, as far as my research is concerned, and as far as a nutritionist, what I have seen that has been one of the most remarkable needle movers is helping folks to move their blood sugar levels down, because there's so much attached to it. There's so many body parts that it is affected by having high blood sugar. So if we can fix that, if we can help you fix that, I should say, because supplements aren't fairy dust. They're not magic. They're a help. They're an assist. So that is, I'm just letting you know about that. I'm lecturing you already. Sorry about that. I'm just really emphatic. I love stuff that helps, but it doesn't do all the heavy lifting. Of course, you have to do it on your end as well. You know that though. You know that. We've hung out long enough. Now, who was here? Pinky's up if you were here last night and you saw our goals webinar. I was really pleased with how that turned out, because I will tell you that setting goals has been a whole game changer for me. I have been setting goals my whole adult life pretty much since I owned my own very first business as a catering company back in the 80s. That's when I started first setting my goals. I had some time off from all of that, but finding a system that works, that was just everything. Alice and Chris were there. Yay! So good. I'm so glad you were there. Catherine just watched the replay. Yay! I'm so glad. Brenda loved it. Thank you so much. Patricia was there. Yay! And so was Joey, my friend Joey, my partner in crime at where were we? Whole Foods, right? Sue was there, of course. And anyway, the webinar was talked about how goals are impactful and how to drill them down so that they're not so overwhelming. That was the whole deal on it. You can watch the replay. It's at savingdinner.com/goals. So, this is the whole thing. This is my whole thing. If I can give you something in bite-sized pieces and tear it down and make it spoonable, so to speak, I'm going to do that. Especially when I am, I've walked in your shoes. I know what it feels like to say, I just can't do these goals thing. It's too hard. It's too overwhelming. And even if you don't know what it is exactly that you want, you can still get to the place of figuring it out. Because remember, everything is immensely, always figure outable. So anyway, all righty. So Ellen was there too. Yeah, thanks so much. And I'm so honored, Ellen. Ellen's in Switzerland, of all places. So for her to be on there was a little bit of a sacrifice. Kathy, that was there too. Yeah, it was good to see you. Now, the quote of the week: be who you are and say what you mean. Those who don't matter and those who don't matter mind. Isn't that interesting? Thank you, Dr. Seuss. That's true. We need to always be ourselves. You are not a duplicate of anyone. You're not a biological accident. You're here on purpose and for a purpose. It would be a shame if we didn't find out who you were, if we didn't see you in your fullness of who you are, your vibrant self. That's how I look at that. And you know what? In our immensely human form, we all make mistakes. We all say the wrong things. We do the wrong things. We love too much. We love too little. We're kind. We're not kind. All of it. That's who you are. That's who we all are. That's how this imperfection is all packaged up. But you can still be your glorious self and still love yourself up enough to show up at your very best. And that's my challenge to you, is to become your very best. And that's why I want you to go grab your journal. This is what we talked about last night. And the class for this journal is coming September 12th, Monday, September 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay. And though this class is only for journal holders, and we're going to go as long as we need to go. Okay. As long as we need to go. And the thing about this journal that's so great is that it's going to show you, it's going to have a place for everything. I'm going to show you my own journal. It's going to be show and tell on how to really set up these goals so that your next 12 weeks, the end of this year, are going to be just on point, glorious, and making you feel good, not having regret. Isn't that everything? I think it is. So that's savingdinner.com/sale for those closeout supplements. Go grab them. We keep running out, and once they're gone, they're gone. So screaming deals over there. And then last night's webinar was savingdinner.com/goals to get the goals setting webinar, and I'm sharing my system essentially with you. And then the journal is the purchase, and I certainly hope that you get in on that because it's fun. All right. So this week, I'm going to go ahead and bring TikTok on. This week, we have been talking about some of these, some information, sharing from my journal. Very personal. Hello, TikTok, by the way, and Facebook and YouTube, of course. Everybody's here, so let's have a party. It's Wise Women's Wednesday, after all. I'm sharing from my journal, and the reason that I'm sharing from my journal is, this is where the insights go when we're growing and we're working on our personal development. This is where we drop the little truth bombs. Sometimes our journals can just be full of whatever, and other times you can go through your journals, and especially if you've been keeping a journal as long as I have, you can pick something out and look at it and go, I need to be thinking about that just a little bit more. And that's pretty much what I'm pulling out here and sharing some little truth nuggets that I've discovered in my years of using a journal. Journal is one of the best tools to find what your heart's desire is to create your own vibrant vision for your life so that you can create the goals that you want, so that you can create the life that you want. And I found that across the board, there is no one that doesn't want a vibrant life. There's not a soul. They're just not. And so how do we get that? What does it look like? And what areas of our lives does it impact? Well, interestingly, it impacts all of it. And that's what I have written in a lot of my journals. And so I'm going to be sharing some of that with you today, just a little bit. It's not going to be a great big long show. So hang in there with me. And if you missed at the top of the show, I had a bunch of announcements. Go to savingdinner.com/announcements. That's where you're going to see the journal page. All the links are there, and how to get to the sale quickly. And it's all linked up for you. Okay? savingdinner.com/sale or /announcement. Sorry. Yeah, right there. Amber Tracy Liu is over there on the TikTok watching everybody. So yesterday we talked a little bit about motivation. Were you here for that? And just, how our motivation can wane and go a little bit, south sometimes. But today we're going to be talking about freedom in our higher selves. And I'm going to explain that a little bit because that was an entry in my journal. There is freedom in our higher self. What the heck does that mean? What does it mean to have freedom in our higher self? Well, what does freedom entail exactly? It entails growth, happiness, transcendence, so that you can get past and beyond and into something else that you want and love and leave something else behind. That's how we transcend something. And there's a little bit of ambition thrown in there as well, because we have to have ambition at the core of it, because ambition is a motivator and is the seed that's going to push us forward a little bit. But then there's fear on the opposite end, really, of freedom. And fear causes us to skirt around our challenges, right? What happens when we see a challenge? To me, this is so interesting because I know I'm not alone on this, right? Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, right? We skirt around, we avoid the struggle as much as we possibly can, even though we understand and we all know, am I right? That out of the struggle, that is where the growth is born. It's in the struggle. I mean, anybody here ever have a baby? You want to talk about labor and then delivery, right? There's a struggle. And right at the very end, when it's time to push that baby out of there, it's not pretty. There's some screaming involved. There's body fluids going everywhere. It's, let's get this show on the road. Let's get this child out into the world. That's your growth right there. Your growth at the very end. And then what will you have? Then you've got this screaming pile of humanity that just came out, right? All red with a big gray umbilical cord attached to it. That's us, y'all. That's our growth. A screaming newborn that you struggled to get out. It's in the struggle that the birth of growth happens. So when when we decide to entertain fear, hear me on this. When we entertain fear, what it happens is it creates greater weakness, it creates conformity and regret in our lives as we start to obsess over what coulda, shoulda been. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. And instead of living ourselves in the present, instead of having an eye toward the future, we're rolling around in the past, in shame, in regret, in fear, in wishing, and not having, not being, and certainly not doing. That's what happens when fear is allowed to have its way with us and to just take off and do its thing. But the thing is, remember when shared with you, I think, what was it, on Monday, about how I had made a decision on the cusp of my 60th birthday that I didn't want to leave a legacy. I wanted to live a legacy. But so this is all part of this whole journal entry here. Destiny and legacy are won through freedom and struggle, whereas fear creates a predictable dissatisfaction and demise. This is from my journal, exact quote, pulled it out. So if we understand that this is what is to happen, that this freedom that we are looking for, that freedom is on the opposite side of fear. And the struggle, instead of avoiding the struggle, we need to embrace the struggle, lean into it a little bit, and just try to understand what the heck is going on. Because when we look at struggle from a whole different lens, then we get to see, okay, yeah, this part's going to be hard. This part's going to be hard. I remember when Mark and I were playing that tournament, I shared back in July, we were playing a pickleball tournament, and we got into semifinals. We were number 1 seed in the semifinals. And I remember thinking, you mean I've got to play another game? Oh, no, you've got to play probably another 2 or 3 games, depending on how you plays. And at that point, I'd left it all on the dance floor, y'all. I had nothing left. My water was all gone. I was exhausted. Every single stitch of clothing that I owned, that I was wearing, soaked, including my shoes. I could feel the wet between my toes. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. But I understood too that I needed to step up into the struggle, as hard as it was, and to give it one last effort. And all I had to look at was the next game. And then once I started the game, all I had to look at was the next move, the next placement of the ball, the next everything. Because when I looked at that and stopped dreading about what was going to happen if I hit we went all the way to the very end, then I was able to produce. This is how it is for everything. We think we're at the end of our rope. We think we're at the end of all that we can give. And then we find out that there is still a little bit more left in the tank. Now, we don't want to do this with everything. We want to do it when it counts. We want to go to the place and put our feet right up to the line and say, you know what? I am not done. I will endure. I will persist. I will not give up. Because the fight is why the victory is so juicy and so delicious and so completely satisfying, because we didn't give up. We didn't quit on ourselves. So here's the thing. We choose based on what we want. And do we want fear or do we want freedom? Now, I don't think anybody deliberately goes out and say, I want freedom, but what they don't want is the struggle. So they don't choose the struggle. They don't allow for the struggle. They don't embrace and lean into the struggle because it looks too hard, or it feels hard, or I might as well just give up. And that's why I say to you, and I mean, even if I'm talking about L-glutamine, or if I'm talking and how it helps with cravings and all of that, or I'm talking about, a diet or losing weight or losing whatever. If you don't have the mindset piece in place, then the rest of this, it isn't just a program. It isn't just a supplement. It isn't just a journal and writing things out. It's about having a mind that says, I'm bendable, I'm flexible, I'm willing, I'm able. And even when it's hard, I'm still going to be there. I'm not giving up on myself. I will never quit on myself. You have to pull out the Winston Churchill. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. Ever. If we have that kind of an attitude for us, what do you think that is? That is mindset. No, it's not willpower. It's mindset. Willpower, your best willpower is always going to be set up with your environment. We've talked about that before. If Oreos are your downfall and you're keeping Oreos in your pantry, what can I say? That's a mistake. Get the Oreos out of your pantry and clear out the stuff that causes the downfall. Then the struggle becomes less, doesn't it? Funny how that whole thing works. So we have to look that there are always, if you're looking for them, compelling reasons to move us forward. Always. And on the opposite side of that, there's always fear to deactivate all of the above. Always. Fear's on the sidelines, pulling you down at any turn, any juncture, right? Fear is the obstacle. Fear, it is, capital F, is willing to take you down. And it's your amygdala in your brain, which is the fear center of the brain, that is screaming so loud. So loud that this part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, I call it the control panel, you know that. This is the intelligence that you own, that's yours. This is your ability to be an abstract thinker, to think logically, to do all that complexity. You can't do that when your fear factor is screaming so loud. So you got to calm your amygdala down and just say, listen, it's all going to be fine. Just hold on. It's going to work. When we understand our brains, we can understand how to work them so that we can start getting what we want. So fear keeps you in a reactive, not only does it deactivate, but it also keeps you in a reactive do nothing mode. Go back to Netflix, go back to the couch, revel in your comfort zone, which, as you know, I call a trap. So what is motivation then? We talked about that a little bit earlier, but motivation is oftentimes a mystery. You know, we know it's not going to come knocking at the door and say, come on in, you know, here, come on in. I need motivation to get me up off the couch. I had a woman one time I kind of was a pen pal with, and she kept saying, I just can't get up off the couch. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you know, you have enough whatever you're motivated enough to write me about it. How about if you just make a plan, 5 things on a list, 3 things on a list, spend 10 minutes doing that and see how that goes. You know, we have to do something. Motivation happens after the act of doing something too, by the way. It doesn't go like this. It's not like a tempting siren, you know, like the sailors, come this way. Motivation's calling your name. No, not at all. It's motivation is fleeing. You might be motivated 1 minute and then 5 minutes later something, ooh, look what's on Netflix, you know, and boom, it's gone. Motivation is flighty, but your motivation to do more and to keep going and to not give up on yourself, that's going to come right after. That's when the motivation really does come. I promise you. I know this because I've lived it. I've seen this 100 times. When we're fearful, we're actual, you know, prisoners to impulse, and we create our own apathetic aimlessness of really not knowing what to do, not doing anything, and just letting it all go. But I will tell you that sustained motivation is a characteristic of those who love freedom, of those who cherish freedom and know with this freedom that we're owning in our own lives, there is going to be a struggle. There is going to be a struggle, but we can sustain that motivation and go further simply by understanding that it's there, lean into it, it will pass too, just like everything else does. It just does. I mean, anybody work out, you know, and you're just like, oh my gosh. I mean, I do an arms program, you know, online. I'm doing an arms program. And there's a part where it's just like, I have just got to breathe through it because my muscles say, quit. This is not going to work. This is just not going to work. But I surprise myself every time and then get through it simply by breathing through it. I don't want to be a prisoner of my own impulse and just quit just because it's hard. I want to keep going. I want to show my prefrontal cortex who's boss, even in the pain, even in the suffering, which is going to last another 10 seconds, by the way. You see what I mean? It's interesting how this whole thing's. So your willingness to be uncomfortable creates your next level of freedom. Now write that down because this is the truth. Write all the way to, I can take this one to the bank. Your freedom is a willingness to be uncomfortable and it will take your freedom to the next level. A willingness to be uncomfortable. And what happens then is you end up being more and more present. You end up being more deliberate, more precise with what it is that you have to do. And can I just say, your skill level goes up a notch and a half because you know what you're made of. You know that you count on yourself. You know that your integrity is intact because you keep your promises to yourself. It's one of the biggest things that ever whomped me upside the head. Keeping my promises to myself. It's everything. If I can keep my promises to myself, then certainly I can keep them to you. I can keep them to my family. I can keep them to my husband. I can keep them to my friends. I can keep them to everyone. Because if I betray myself, I'm going to end up betraying someone along the way. That's just how this whole thing works. So remember something here, that motivation is a choice. It is a decision, and it is what will keep you moving forward. And it is your reason for action. Because after you take action, the motivation, more motivation than you've ever had or ever thought possible, will follow. That's the promise. But just remember, to get to the other side of freedom, you're going to have a struggle. Embrace it, lean into it, and believe with all of your heart that you have everything that you need in order to get this work done. I hope this is great. Right on, my Cherie. Thank you so much. She said, so nice to hear someone remind us that we're all capable of achieving the freedom we want. Yes, ma'am. 100%. We are. And that's what I want for you. I want you to have the life you want. This vibrant vision of what you want your life to be. It's simply a matter of understanding and knowing with all of your heart that you have it within to do. That's how you're made, you know? On purpose and for purpose, fearfully and wonderfully made. God doesn't make junk. You ready to do this and to get out there and get busy? I sure hope so. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget everything that I talked about earlier, savingdinner.com/announcements to find out about the goals webinar, which you can watch free. It's still available. Number 2 is the other thing is, don't forget about that sale. We have a bunch of blowout supplements at rock bottom prices at savingdinner.com/sale. Stock up. Peace be with you. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.